Hey there, RTS fans. This is Agozi speaking, and if you're here, I assume that you either came here because you're following my mod page or just found this video in mistake. But for both people that watching this video is mostly about the history of Unofficial Big Bang Patch 1.4, which is actually a mode that I am developing for Command & Conquer Kane's Wrath since around 2014, and you can bet that since then I've got many questions from people. I even changed the mod name once cause I changed the direction pretty fast, and I thought I should finally make a video that mostly explain all of the history about this mod, explain why I made this mod, and also some community drama that made me delay the mod for a lot of time, though it not was the only reason, but it probably was one of the main reasons. Let me just note that this video is mostly me explaining about what the mod is about and about the history. It's by no means going to be some sort of like good introduction video when you see shitload of gameplay and cool things. You will see few parts of gameplay, but this is not the aim of this video. I'm going to make more like smaller and better videos for introduction in the next time, but this one is mostly about me talking about things, so I just want to make this thing clear from the get-go. So without further ado, let's begin, shall we? Let me start with the history of how Big Bang came to be, cause I will need to explain it anyway, and if I want to talk about anything else, I better start from somewhere. And what is the best place to start if not the beginning? So, around the time when Kane's Wrath came out, I and my friends really liked the game. We were there since the launch day, played a lot, like it. Then EA released patch 1.1, and for me and both my friends in real life and online, it completely destroyed the game, changed the eco that we pretty much were used to in any other CNC game, even the classic ones. They all had some sort of similar kind of eco, not the exact same eco, but similar in many ways. And what this patch did, it basically changed anything that we liked about the game. It nerfed most of the support powers, upgrades in some units. It made the power to give you less power, if I recall correctly. It made the refineries expensive, the harvester more expensive. Nearly all of the structures didn't have build radius, and with CNC, any player used to the fact that structures give you build radius, at least most of them. And after all of these changes, we just felt that it wasn't really how CNC should feel. EA attempt to make the game slower and prevent rushes. They want like the game to be longer, not like when matches will end up because many people rush here and there. But they mostly failed. All of these changes, they just made the game unplayable for most of us. Like, sure, it was still playable, and you may say that as a kiddo I probably didn't saw the merit of all of these changes, but like, goddammit, it didn't feel to this point like a CNC game to me. And when you looked on EA forums, you saw some suggestions they posted about what they want to do in future patch, and one of them was like, make the Seeker, the screen unit, to only be able to shoot on air units, and change other wall for other units. And people saw that, and most of them were mad, cause changing unit walls, changing the eco, removing stuff like units upgrades, this is more like Blizzard kind of style, not CNC. So I wasn't really fond of it. Most players I knew quit the game at this point, and I and my friend just found way to play the game through LAN, rather than go to the last patch and to use the online option, because with LAN we can still play 1.0. And from there I kind of like thought that if I could only make some sort of mod that has most of the fixes from 1.1 and 1.2, but with most of the balance for 1.0 or 1.0, then it will be wonderful, because then we can still have online support and have all of these fixes, all of these changes. This is where it all started from. The problem was that EA never released a proper tools to mod Kane's Wrath. But few years after, a mod called One Vision was finally released and proved that we can mod Kane's Wrath with unofficial tools. So I went ahead and asked the Filthy Casual, the mod creator, if he could maybe do this kind of mod that I had in mind. So he told me he don't really have time for that, but he asked me if I rather see the ropes of how to mod by him, and basically teaching me how to mod instead, so I could make my own mod. And I went with his offer. I tried the stuff he showed me. He showed me the really basic, gave me one of the tools. I started learning things, and after a few months I made the mod Kane's Wrath Classic, which is basically a mod that just changed the balance the way I said earlier. Basically take all of the changes EA did in 1.1 and 1.2, at least most of them, the ones that I could touch, and change them back to 1.0, but keep the fixes they made and some of the stuff that they changed, which were actually pretty good. Like they buffed the shatterers and made few other units to be tiny bit more useful, so I kept that. But the most important thing was that we finally had online support that worked with mods. So after I finished that project, I start like looking around what I can do in terms of modding. I did few small fun modes that had no real meaning by request, but I thought it may be time to take Kane's Wrath to the next level. I saw there is an unofficial patch 1.3 that someone made back in the day, and back then, around more than half decade ago, most people told me they don't like the patch changes. They said that the creator even took EA's ideas and did them even worse. And I even talked with the creator itself, and he told me that he not really going to keep working on this patch back in the day, of course, and mostly said that he going to abandon it and playing StarCraft. So when he said that and I saw that no one really loved the patch, I thought maybe I could give it my own kind of touch. I saw all of this stuff he fixed. I asked him about letting me look at the code so I can add most of the fix. I had to like add them manually and see what he did, not just blindly copy paste stuff. I had to see the reason behind stuff too. And I start working on Unofficial 1.4 patch. I also in this patch like wanted to address other few issues, but for starters I fixed shitload of bugs. I changed the balance a bit here and there, and guess what? I got bored. Cause after the former project I had, just balance changes and bug fixes kind of start to bore me. People in my mod page tell me maybe you could like add few things, change some stuff to some degree, stuff that you can argue that were supposed to be in Kane's Wrath to begin with. And from that I start doing things a bit differently and eventually change the mod name from Unofficial Patch to Unofficial Big Bang Patch 1.4. I still kept the 1.4 ready name because 1.3 already exists, so I couldn't do much about it in that regard. And the reason I kept the name patch in the mode rather than remove it away was cause my aim wasn't to change the gameplay too much or replace all of the units or reskin them like what One Vision did, where it like changed all of the roles and the unit colors and whatever to the point you can call it some sort of alternative Tiberium universe with microwave tanks and whatever. And of course, I didn't want a total conversion mode where I like change everything, and rather want from things to still be true to the vanilla game and plot. I only wanted for the mode to be like some sort of small expansion pack or a really big patch, like some video games in the past did and simply called them a Big Bang Patch. And this is where the name came from. But as I said, the mode wasn't really going to change the game in a massive way in terms of gameplay, so people who would like get in the game won't really see shitload of changes right away. They could still in a way consider it as a patch because the quality of life improved, the balance changed to be a bit more engaging, and so the unit's response, shitload of bugs were fixed, and I also addressed some stuff in the gameplay, like making all of these support powers and abilities to work with allies in one way or another, and start adding some few new units, support powers, and ideas I had to make the game more interesting, yet still not go too far from the original lore, and if anything, expand upon it a bit so the sub-factions will feel a tiny bit more different than one another, like their team and their gameplay will feel more true to them than just being a copy-paste or lacking in some areas, if you got what I mean. So with that, I more or less covered the history of the mode. Like, there are more parts to it that will make the video too long if I would add them, and there are also some other parts that I did address in this video, and they just in the next few sections. So with that, now let's pass to some of the questions that you asked me over the years about the mod and the reason I did things. It also a bit relate to the old section about the changes I did in Big Bang. But here, as I answer the question, I also explain why I did some of these changes. So let me start with the most common question. People ask me why Black Hand suddenly has airfield and venoms, though special type of venoms that are only for anti-air use, and also why the airfield is limited only to one, and why the venoms are expensive. So the reason I came up with that was because Kane's Wrath is far from being a balanced game. It's not like General 0 Hour, where you like had a lot of stuff that were missing from the factions, but it still has some important parts that missing from each faction. But this is also part of the charm that each sub-faction has. So I don't want to simply give them all of the units and roles they are missing again, but I do want to add them in one way or another where the factions won't be limited and could still use some of these units, but not like how the other factions can use them. So with Black Hand, it was actually really important to add Venoms back, or at least anti-airs means that are floating rather than ground units like the Mantis, cause as a vanilla player I can tell you, when you miss one roll, in this case one unit, you can sometimes be really screwed, and with Black Hand it was really hard to do some stuff. There were some maps, even official maps, that I experienced firsthand where a screen player would just take his drone and fly to the sea. At this point, you as a Black Hand player can do anything to destroy your opponent because you have no freaking idea where his MCV is because he moved the drone above the water. And Mantis can't swim, so go figure out how you can solve this thing, EA. You can try like nuke this place, sure, but you can also miss and wait another long time till you will get your nuclear again. So it's really not a good idea to keep Black Hand without air. So I had to add some sort of Venom back. I didn't simply add the original Venom, I gave them a special type from Cincy 4 that only shoot on air. Expensive, so people won't need to use them more than they actually need to for emergencies and the like. And the airfield is limited only to one, so people won't rely on them too much. And as excuse for the plots, I mostly went with the Black Hand, took some of Nod tech and modify it to be their own kind of thing. If you think that Black Hand now feel like, I don't know, less Black Hand in terms of plot and stuff, then let me tell you a secret, the Mantis was also probably not supposed to be a drone, which EA added at the last minute, cause it still use placeholder voices that say tank from the Kane draft beta, because EA probably didn't had enough time to get a sane voice actor for it. So, yeah, it's kinda messed up to begin with in terms of stuff. If anything, I gave the Mantis a voice again and took the entire idea of Mantis is a drone out of the window cause it was super stupid. I think that at the very least the change with the aircrafts are making more sense than having a bot in a faction that hate robots. So this is the direction I took with some of the factions. With Black Hand it was the main critical things I needed to do, and the same thing was with sub-factions like Zocom that has no artillery. They did have a nice aircraft arsenal, but anti-air means could take them out and they had no artillery to shoot back at them. So I had to add them Juggernaut again, but I had a different type of Juggernaut, the Zone Juggernaut, which is a bit different than the normal one. It shoots sonic shells and has an EMP cannon to fit with their new theme about more emphasis on EMPs aside from missiles. But this Juggernaut is also limited, and you ask me why. Same thing as the Venom basically. I don't want people to spam them, I don't want people to rely on them that much unless they need to. And plot-wise, it was pretty easy to give it some sort of idea, where like the Zone Juggernaut needs sonic shells for his ammunition, and the only place that has them is the Marv Hub. So this is the reason it only constructible from the Marv Hub, and why it's also helped me limited in terms of gameplay. Aside from only adding new units, you also ask me why I replaced some units in some factions, though I rarely replaced anything, cause as I said, I want to stick to vanilla as far as possible, and I don't want to actually remove anything from the game and rather just add stuff. But there were some cases, like one of the questions you asked me, why I replaced the Marv add the Steel Talon arsenal to a Mastodon? And I think the answer for this is kinda obvious, but I will answer it anyway. The main reason is because I don't think that anyone that I knew over the years tell me that he liked this thing in the Steel Talon's arsenal, because that thing they're not fit with the plot. Steel Talon's not supposed to actually have this thing, and it also pretty much acts as a mid shield because you don't have any infantries to upgrade it with, because you only have the basic ones. So you only use it as a mid shield at best, and I thought that it probably fit better to give them the Mastodon, cause I think it's only fit with a faction that is mostly about railguns and garrison slots to have a freaking walking fortress that has railgun upgrades, missiles from the get-go, and 4 slots that you can put infantry in it if you already have a small number of infantry types anyway. Also, to answer about your question why I'm not changing all of the faction icons to their own sub-factions, this is also because I'm following what EA did in vanilla, cause there the sub-factions are only part of the main factions. They have their own logo only on the unit they made or modified, nothing else. So I just gave the icons to the MCVs, but didn't change the symbol to any units that not relate to the sub-faction. So I hope that also answered that in that regard. So, I've answered you about your questions, I've talked about the history of the mode and why I've changed its name, and of course the meaning behind some of the changes I did. But there was also another thing that I didn't talk about, which I've saved for last. And that is about why the mod was delayed so much and why it's still in an unfinished state. If that part not interests you, you can stop watching the video here, I won't mind. But if you still want to stay and listen, go ahead, this is like the point of the video. So, I can give you the casual excuses about me at the first years just learning how to mod and try ideas, suggestions, try to see in which direction I want to take the mod to, and see if the stuff I thought on work. If not, I need to remove them. And also, I was still learning, especially in the first few years, so I needed help from the community and from some other people who helped me out a lot, especially at the beginning, till I became more independent when it's come to modding. I also, of course, not mods every day. I mods when I want to, cause it's a hobby that I do for fun. And once I gain a lot of knowledge, I also start helping other random mods creators around the years in the hope to make the Kane's Draft community alive again, mostly the modding community. And I help mostly to Kane's Draft mod, but also to some Red Alerts mods and Tiberium Wars mods. I gave them some of my ideas and some of my assets before releasing my own mode, so even if I did a lot of things first, or at least first in the idea of releasing them publicly, they also went into other mods and became less relevant in my mode to some degree, you can say. Aside from that, my beloved dog died at some point. He was really old, so it made me want to take break from modding to some time. And there were 2 other major issues that also reduced my will to mod, you can say. which one of them was the elites in the modding community, Kane's Wrath and Tiberium Wars, as a few veteran modders that some of them are really good, nice people that helps you out, but a small number of them, really few, are really annoying and hard to deal with, cause they sort of like the type that see things above you. They won't help you or give you a nice attitude if they decided that you're not worth their time for whatever reason. It could be the way you type, it could be the way that you like don't know few things. Rather than answer your question, they will also lecture you, but not in the way that like you're supposed to hear it to get and help with your modding, but rather in a way that will make fun of you and say stuff like why you don't know this and that, as if you ever said that you know how to mod from the day you was born. They will take modding too hard, as if it's not a free hobby, as if your life even depends on it, and dealing with them really not fun, and take your motivation away, especially when you see that they will price many other people out there that they support, even if they did the exact same thing you did and not even did it first. They would just pick favorites and won't help whoever they not see fit. They even went as far as try to banish me from the community over nothing, and they abused their power as a community members in a way that like made nobody likes them, but nobody also has the guts to tell them that in the face. They basically grabs the community in the balls, and people can't speak freely next to them, which is like the point in asking questions in servers that are for modding, and they really wish they would have gone. Some places like Game Replay and CNC Online even banned one of them cause he went really far. Just so you get the picture. And this is the problem with this kind of stuff. I don't need to tell other modders how it is with modding community. You always have some nut job here and there, but the main issue is when the most talent or the one that made tools for the community, people who you rely on, are the most annoying ones to deal with, the one that are pure toxin and you don't want to engage with them if you can, but at the same time you want to keep modding, you sometimes needs help, you have to be in these kind of places or else you just like, give up and go home. This is one of the things that like I was busy thinking most of the years, rather than like have fun modding, which was one of the main points behind modding. I want to have fun, I want to mod. But if you're in a toxic environment, you keep asking yourself sometime why I'm here, why I'm wasting my time, do this kind of thing when I can just like go and play some video game, go and do some other things with my life. So this is one of the annoying things that I had to deal with. And there was another major thing, more personal one, you can say, which was related to some sort of an assertive, not the casual assertive that that you can just blame about assertive thing, but something that was more close and personal to me, and thanks to that it's going to be a bit hard to tell the story without sound like someone who is really jealous and after credit, but hear me out on this thing. Over the years, as I said earlier, I help many other mods behind the scenes, or mod creators. Some of them were active, some of them were less active, some credits me, some didn't. I never really asked to be credited to begin with, and I didn't really help all of the mods out there, but I help other in the aim of like making the Kane's Wrath community, the modding community alive again. And there was some people that come and go. and one of them was someone that wanted to know how to mod as well, and I taught him what to do. I show him how we can also watch other stuff from other mods, but kept telling him he need permission to do that, which he didn't seem to realize it at first, cause he just started modding, he had a lot of fun doing this thing, he was super hype about it, and it felt like one thing just went out of the other ear about this kind of stuff. I was all about sharing my things, so at first I didn't mind give him some stuff. I also gave other modders few things, which is why some of my stuff became less relevant, cause I gave them to other mods. But it started becoming worse. The guy started to take things without asking me and other people that I knew that are modding about their stuff. He always did what we did. He saw that we changed something in our Discord server, he did it too. He saw we posting something in the ModDB page, he did it too. I could say that the guy was one of the most uncreative people that I met over the years, at least back in the day, but he was really friendly. When I looked away, he became casual with all of the server that I was casual at. Everyone, including other modders that didn't really know the guy and what he does, became to this day really good friend and buddy with him, which kinda like felt childish and bad to come and tell him, hey look, this guy steals stuff, don't be friend with him, cause I didn't really want to be in this competition or being childish and all, but these things, it really left a lot of scars on my body. It didn't felt right, cause at some point he just kept taking stuff, posting them on his mod, he took things from my mod, from my friend mod, from other random mods that may left a memo that you can take stuff, but I don't think he even read it before we told him about it. He also took a lot of our ideas, even ideas that we just said in our servers without actually doing them, and put them in his own mod. All the time he said, oh, I want this too, and I want this too. Needless to say, we didn't like it. At some point it just really felt like you have a stalker that in return, it made me and the other modders who actually made this kind of stuff to go and hide away from him by not posting our ideas openly or our stuff in ModDB, in our server and other places. And you can bet that the few elites that I talked about earlier in the modding community won't lift a finger to help us if we tell them about it. Cause if it's one of their own, they will cook whoever took stuff from them alive. But if it's us, they won't do a damn thing and hope that we just eventually give up and stop modding altogether. So, thanks to that, things actually went into the funny direction where he posts stuff, people think he made this kind of thing, give him all of the credits, and the legit modders that made this kind of thing go into hide in order to not post them, so he won't see them, and then nobody knows that they were the one that made this thing, these ideas, or some of the assets, or some of the codes to begin with. And it's really hurts back in the day, especially when I, which was all about helping and sharing at first, suddenly found myself thinking how I should post stuff, how I should not post ideas and other things and be on the hiding and don't want to share things with other, which I really didn't thought before till this stuff happened. You can say that this incident kinda helped me grow up a bit, cause I needed this kind of thing to happen in order to get my own awakening, you can say, about being worried from asset thieves and the like, and cares more about the work I put into, rather than just give it away to someone else as if it was nothing. Though, don't get me wrong, I'm still love sharing things, especially if it helps someone else. But it's like I start giving more value to the things I made or edited rather than just give them away. And along the way, it also made me realize how it's not that easy to do them and how it's easy for someone else to take them. And thanks to that, you can bet I was able to understand better how some modders out there don't want to share their own stuff with the community after they had similar case with an asset thief. Even if the guy who asked for the stuff is trustable and in the community for a long time, I was able to get all of that, especially after being at the center of something like that myself firsthand. But anyway, this case eventually sort of resolved itself. You can say the guy did apologize, though he sort of like kept a lot of the core's ideas, mostly for my friend mod, not mine. But some of them, I guess, still there in a way. And you can bet that most of the things I did back in the day are less relevant right now anyway, cause most modders learn how to do this stuff too by now. The same assets are being used from CNC4 or Red Alert or whatever, and the same codes more or less. Though I still try to keep my own things special and unique if I can, cause I know how and want to keep my own mod relevant. But anyway, it's kind of long behind us, cause I love to see the good things I can take from such cases. And thanks to that, I learned some lesson about not sharing things too easily. And if I be honest, I think the guy didn't had any ill intention about this kind of stuff. It was just super hype about modding. I can't say if it was really the case, but I hope it is. And if we're gonna be honest, I did told you all of the story so we know what happened and all, but I think it's not really matters, to be honest. Cause, like, sure, we take away your resolve and you're willing to mod to some degree, it can be negative, but as long as you still have fun modding, this is like all you need to keep modding. If you still see yourself coming back after all of that, I mean, you really like what you do, or else you would have left the place really long ago. Believe me, there are some elite modders out there that would be really happy to see me go, but really mad that I'm not give up. And I really think that, like, if I'm not having fun anymore, this is the point where, like, I need to stop. And thankfully, it still didn't happen, so I kinda glad I can keep moving forward, and I should really thank you guys for that. All of the support, the small community we built in my server, and my friends, and the ones that helped me with modding related stuff, all of that really helped. The tests you do for me, the suggestions you gave me, some of the ideas that we tested to some degree, it really helped to keep my willing to mod intact despite the side noise, and made me like feel that I'm not wasting my time on the CNC community and that there are really good people in there despite the few rotten apples that I saw here and there. Also, while I don't know if my actions did help the modding community, I am glad to see that, like, after a few years of the stuff I did, the Kane's Draft community, the modding community, is more alive than ever. At least more alive than what it was at the past. And now we have better tools to do things, we have more options that back in the day we didn't have. And it's all really nice to see and have. So if you didn't try Big Bang till now, at least consider give it a try, cause you may be surprised by the things that you're gonna see underneath, or just may won't be able to see them at all, but the bang is there, I can assure you that. See what you think about it yourself and give me your feedback. It will mean a lot, even if, like, I may won't change what you tell me to do, cause I do have some red lines. I will take the comments seriously and see if it's doable, if it's fixable, depend what it is. So with that, thanks a lot for watching the video. I hope it helped you understand more or less what I've been through in all of these years and answers most of your questions. or at the very least give you more interest in the mod itself. And don't forget to have fun, commanders, cause if you don't, there is no real point in doing what you do. With that being said, I hope I'm gonna see you in the next video, commanders. Thanks for sticking till the end.